Hey guys, this video is all about hardwiring a dashcam to the Mazda CX-5. The procedure of doing this will probably be the same for every other car. I think the only difference will be your fuse box layout. So I'll show you guys how to do it. So this is the box that the DVR came in, and everything is in Chinese, and we've got our cables. Now to this I've already attached two fuse cables. You'd need to buy these additionally. I labeled mine, one for the red wire and one for the yellow wire, because they're both red, so I need to know when I'm working in the fuse box what I'm working with. Then you've got your ground, so we're going to have to ground it. And then this is normally a video out cable, but I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about the actual power cable, because this is going to plug into the dash cam. In addition to that, we've got some paperwork here, which I'll talk about a little more in depth later as well. Our rear facing camera, and then obviously the dash cam itself. And we've got a lens that is adjustable, so you can move it up or down a little bit, and it's got an on-off button. And I don't like dash cams that have a screen at the back. This one works with Wi-Fi to an app on your phone, and then you can see what the cameras are seeing. Here we've got a power cable, and we've got the cable that leads to the rear camera. So here's our fuse box panel. Now mine sits on the passenger side. If you've got a left-hand drive car, yours is going to be on the driver's side. Just take this cover off, and there are all your fuses. So now I'm going to show you how to test which fuse you actually want to use, but you must also use your manual to see which are 12 volt sockets and which are, well, suspected to be always live. In the manual, I've had a look at it, and according to my actual car, I'm just testing here now. My car is switched off right now, accessories off. That is lighting up my testing light. If you see, if I just touch the fuse, it's lighting up. I've connected the ground of my testing light to the ground right here in the door, so that's perfect for the dash cam's ground as well. And so I'm going to use that for my yellow wire. Now we want 12 volt sockets or USB outlets, accessory sockets. We've got number 11. It says accessory sockets, so those are our 12 volt sockets. Okay, number 11 sits up here. It's the third one from the top. So it should not be live according to, and it's not live. But if I turn on the accessory for the car, and we should be live now, and we are live. So number 11 and number 17 are going to be the two that I'm going to use. So I'm going to pull this fuse out, and I'm going to put it into my little fuse adapter. I'm going to pull that 20 amp fuse out there, and I'm going to put that into my yellow one. And so what I've done is I actually cut that video cable off, because I'm never going to need that. I hope it doesn't affect the electric somehow, because I haven't tested it yet. And what I did is I used that material automotive tape just to cover this plastic thing, this connector that, you know, releases all these wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm just chucking the wires into the footwell here. We need to get the rubber off over here so that we can actually route the cable through, and I'm pulling it off all around the edge here so that I can work nicely, and try and ensure that the cable does not interfere with the airbag, which is actually sitting in here. And I'm going to pull it through here, which is going to be easier to do actually. Actually, I prefer it to come through here, because there's some kind of stopper there, so I prefer it to come through a little bit higher. And pull all the cable until you've got this connector thing just sticking out by your fuse box aperture. I've got the wire in there, and I'm going to route it up through here. Just stick it in there, get it in behind this airbag. So it's behind the airbag and not in front of the airbag. So what I've done here is you need to just pull this away. It's got a clip situated over there. And what I've done is, you'll see there's my airbag, and I've routed the wire behind the airbag, because you don't want to take the wire around the front of the airbag and this way, because if your airbag ever pops, that will not be good for anyone sitting in this passenger seat. So I've got the cable through, and here it is. And as you saw, I ran the cable from the bottom up. You don't want to do it the other way around, otherwise you've got this mess to deal with, and to try and get all these wires through all these apertures and holes, it's quite a challenge. We've already plugged this back in. There's no wires sticking out over there, so there's no wires sticking out over here, and my wire's running neatly around the side and the edge, and then comes out the bottom. I'm going to have lots of excess wire left over, but I'm going to stick it down there. As you can see, I'm getting really hot and very sweaty. It's very humid out here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to run the cable to the rear of the car, and that's going to be a bit of a challenge. But before I do that, I'm just going to hook it up and test that everything's working. So now I've got everything hooked up. What I had to do is I didn't use, that's actually number 16. Sorry guys, not number 17. What I had to do is I actually had to use number 18 for the yellow wire, because these wires, this cable here got in the way, and as you can see, it is so tight. Look how Mazda have actually connected this loom. I don't even know why it's so tight, but I mean, these cables are really, they're under a lot of strain. So I didn't want to put them under any more strain, so I had to take this cable beneath this one and the other one over it, just to make sure that there was no tension at all on this loom over here of Mazda's. And because you need quite a bit of space to plug this thing in, and it's got to run to the side. It's just the way it works. So now it's running to the side, and as you can see there, it's not getting in the way at all. And I've crunched all the cables down inside there. You can barely see them. That was the easy part. Now the challenge is to get the cable from the top over there all the way down here, and then take it around the floor and up into the tailgate, because the rear camera is actually going to be in the rear window. So I've got the wire coming down here now behind the rubber. I had to pull the rubber off again as well as that top trim panel. I actually want to get this kick panel off here, and you just start pulling at this end and you can pull it off. It's just stuck there with clips, and we'll give it a tug and it's off. I want to get this wire in here. I need to actually pull the cable into the car, so just pull it all through. There's our plug. This red wire is in case you want to hook up the rear facing camera as a reverse camera, which I don't want to do, so I'm just going to cut that wire. I'm really not interested in it. So just to show you guys, the cable's coming down here, down the kick panel, and we're going to stick our, I'm actually going to put the rubber in place here now, just so that the cable doesn't keep popping out there. But as you can see, I've taken that panel off, and I've got my cable running through here, and I'm going to tuck it underneath this B-pillar panel over here, and then pull it out the rear. What I've done here is you just pull this off as well. I pulled the trim panel off, and I've got my cable here. So let's just pull the cable through to the back, and I'm actually going to cut this red wire off now because it's starting to get in the way. I've actually moved the passenger seat all the way to the front, and what I did is I just lifted this a little bit here. You can actually easily just pull the wire. I've got the wire through there now, but you can easily just lift it and you can pull it through, and it's really no issue to get it through. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull the door rubber away, and what I want is, you can see there's ample space once you pull this away to get your cable in there, and we take it all the way to the top, and then I'm going to pull it through here and route it all along there to the tailgate. Now to run the cable through there, you're actually going to need one of these trim tools just to tuck it in there and get it all the way to the end, right over here. Now what we've got to do is we need to pull the tailgate rubber away so we can get this cable in here in the roof lining. And I see there's a little bit of glue holding this rubber in here. It's not the end of the world. So what I found is there are a lot of wires going to the tailgate on the left hand side, and on the right hand side there's just this one wire. So you're going to have more space on this side to get this thing through this rubber grommet and into your tailgate. And so I'm going to use this side. I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough cable once this is all said and done, but that's fine as long as I can get this connector in here. That's all we want. So I'm going to pull the top portion off now. Here we go. Now in order to get this through, I'm going to put a piece of wire around it and then just twist the wire so that I can pull it through. And then we need to get this rubber out the way so you can see what we're doing under here. And as long as I can just get this wire through here, which I have, now the wire is going to pull my cable through, and there we go. I've got my cable on this side of the fence. This is the most challenging part of this process because it's difficult to get it through the this grommet. So this is the most difficult part of running the rear cable. But I'm just going to bend the front so that again we don't stick it through this rubber grommet. You do not want to damage this grommet because that means your entire cable has to be unplugged. So I got it through, got the wire through, but now I've got to pull the cable through. I'm thinking I should maybe just put it like that it lines up with the wire, and hopefully it's going to pull this cable all the way through. Now I want the head of this thing to line up. Pull the wire through, and I think it's quite important to make the plug face the front. It's going to be the easiest way to get it to go in. Help it by shoving it into the grommet a little bit. Yep, I can see it. So it's not snagging the actual wire. You just got to pull like crazy. There we go. Okay, so I've tested it, it's working, and I'm very happy with that. So I'm just pulling the whole cable through, and before I plug this back in, I've got to get it in there. But before I get it in there, I have to remove this trim panel over here. So in order to get this thing out, you just have to tug on it, and it will unclip. And as you can hear, there are some really nasty sounds. And there's the last one holding it in. Okay. The rear camera actually came with these little self-tapping screws, and for the Mazda I definitely need them. My screws are coming through the end over there, not by much, and I'm very happy with the fact that if I put this panel back, those screws are actually going to be either side of this metal piece over here. So there's my camera on my panel, and what I've done is I've put some automotive tape all around the cable, and I cable tied it to that cable over there. So this is where the plug is. This tape actually makes the cable taut, so it's not going to be flapping around in there making a noise because it is material. So now I'm going to need to get this cable in here and make sure that it's not, if it makes a noise while I'm driving, I'll just take this panel off and I'll perform some anti-rattle procedures. But it's time to clip this thing back in. There we go. I can actually just bend this little bracket a little bit to make the camera, you know, just bend it this way to face a little more down depending on where I am. So I'm going to pull the car in the driveway and then see what picture I'm actually getting for the rear. So that is the camera installed over there. That's what it looks like. That was the best solution I could get for this camera. I don't really like that, but they sent me a rather ugly looking rear camera, I think. And I'll show you guys what it looks like on the app. So on the app, it's called Wells Car, and that's what it looks like when it starts. And then we are connected to the device, and then there we go. So the top picture is the rear camera, and the main picture is the front camera. So it's recording front and rear at the same time. Now it says recording pause because I don't have a SD card in there. Now you get this little card, and on the back of this card you get a QR code which you can scan, and you can then download the app. But it comes up with some strange looking Chinese website, and I'll show you a screen, and it's got nothing to do with the Dashcam. So I contacted the seller, and the seller was extremely helpful, and he sent me an email with this information, and it said scan the QR code, and he highlighted, and you'll see all these red squares. You need to select those options, and I selected all the wrong options and that's why I got something else. But this was very helpful. So it helped me download the APK for my phone and install the app. So you just got to follow all these highlighted squares that he's highlighted there, and they should actually, I printed this out and I cut it as a card and included it because I'm going to keep it in the box in case I change phones in the future and I need to download this app again. This is very helpful, but this card you get with the Dashcam is not helpful. It's all in Chinese. I don't understand Chinese. When you load the app, you can see it's Chinese, but once you're in the app, it actually says my device, and you can click on device. Obviously, before you can even click on the device, you must first connect to the device on your Wi-Fi settings, and you'll see it's connected. It's called Start Times DVR. It's connected, and it tells you here, and this is all I could make out, was that it says there Start Times DVR, and the Wi-Fi code to connect to it is 88. So that's your Wi-Fi password to connect to the Dashcam. And once you've got that in the app and in your phone, it will just automatically connect every time the Dashcam is running.